Spider-Man is one of the most well-loved superheroes we have ever known, and he especially catches everyone's eye due to his unique set of powers and abilities. Besides his spidey senses and fast reflexes, he could produce his own organic webs in some cases. Spider-Man's physiology has also given him some more powers. He could climb walls and stick to surfaces, and today we will explore Peter Parker's anatomy and analyze all the physiological details of Spider-Man. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. How did the spider-like powers get activated? Spider-Man gained his powers after being bit by a radioactive spider, which forever altered Peter Parker's genetic structure. He gained super genetics that were similar to his spider and even various other powers such as superhuman strength, speed, and so on. After being bit by the spider, Peter Parker had to dodge hospitals or blood tests that helped him evade any scientists or doctors who would want to experiment on his body or reveal his true identity to the world. His children would also inherit his powers, but this particular feature even got him in a horrible situation during the events of Spider-Man Reign, wherein Mary Jane died after exposure to his radioactive bodily fluids. In another story arc during the Spider-Man comics in the 60s, Peter Parker donated blood to Aunt May, which then adversely impacted her health.
Speak of the devil!
Spider-Man! I knew you two were in this together!
Hey kiddo, let mom and dad talk.
How was he able to climb walls and stick to surfaces? Spider-Man could climb walls and even stick to surfaces, and he is often seen swinging from building to building and climbing up walls to reach a scene or evade any opponents. Among all the heroes in the Marvel Universe, only Spider-Man has the ability to climb walls. He gained this power after the spider bite, and he can enhance the inner atomic attraction between two surfaces, thereby increasing the friction between the surface and himself. In one of the Spider-Man comics, Electro learned that Spider-Man could crawl buildings because he has the ability to negate the static electricity in his surroundings and then produce his own electric charge at different points in his body. This was also seen in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, wherein Peter often grew microscopic hairs that allowed him to stick to surfaces. From a scientific point of view, this ability is inspired by spiders and geckos, as they could stick to walls and trees with the help of nanoscopic hairs on their toe pads, and is known as van der Waals force.
We are supposed to be the good guys.
We are.
How does his spider sense work? Spider-Man's spider sense essentially refers to his ability to intake and even respond to any stimuli at an accelerated rate. It helps him detect any potential danger subconsciously and then react to the situation accordingly. This spider sense was first mentioned in the first issue of the Amazing Spider-Man comics, and it has become one of his most defining characteristics. His spider sense is also referred to as his sixth sense, as it does not rely on his hearing, vision, or any other abilities. With the help of his spider sense, Spider-Man feels a tingling sensation which then alerts him to dodge dangerous situations and even win against various opponents by sensing their next moves or attack strategies. It also allows him to dodge bullets, knives, lasers, and even Electro's lightning shot with ease. Spider-Man can also view some events precognitively with the help of his spider sense, and it helps him to know what is coming next and then prepare for it accordingly. This was also portrayed in the movies in various scenarios wherein he knew that Iron Man was in danger, and he even sensed Dr. Octopus's presence before he revealed himself. Spider-Man's senses were enhanced to such an extent that he could even judge that the Green Goblin would target him and pose a danger to Aunt May's life even minutes before any of these events took place. However, the spider sense has its limitations and cannot exactly point out what kind of threat or situation to look out for. It can only provide Spider-Man with very specific amounts of limited information, such as the direction and speed of danger and weapons, and not actual information about the identity of his opponents and so on. Spider-Man's emotions also interfered with his spider sense and even hindered its ability to stay sharp and detect danger in his surroundings. Spider-Man's spidey senses often warned him of incoming danger. One viral example would be the scene during Thanos' snap, wherein he senses something wrong and begs Iron Man to help him before disappearing into thin air. Spider-Man is gifted with amazing reflexes. Spider-Man is definitely one of the most agile and flexible superheroes in the Marvel Universe, and he can smoothly move at great heights or even jump from building to building with the help of his webbing. He is gifted with amazing reflexes that warn him of any incoming danger, even if it is not in his line of sight. While his skills have been growing over time, he can now respond to threats about 18 times faster than an ordinary human being. Moreover, Spider-Man's tendons and connective tissues were much more elastic and flexible than the regular human, allowing him to bend his body at any angle. This allowed him to swing through the city or even hang upside down with the help of his web without damaging his bone structure. Spiders were primarily known for being agile, and Spider-Man's bones, muscles, joints had also gained elastic strength and durability. Spider-Man's quick reflexes also greatly benefit him in fights against bulky villains such as Thanos, who is incapable of moving around quickly. He could even dodge most of his opponent's attacks swiftly and managed to dodge attacks by entities as powerful as Wanda Maximoff. During one such instance, Wanda hurled cars at Spider-Man by using her telekinesis, and he managed to deflect these attacks by using his agility. Besides using his reflexes in combat, Spider-Man even used them to prevent everyday mishaps, and this was even seen in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, wherein Peter caught Mary Jane in the tray in her hand within a moment. Spider-Man's ability to adjust his position also came from his instinct, and he could just sense any incoming attack and prepare to deflect them. He was also gifted with his spider sense, which helps him to process any stimuli and be ready with a response within no time. The storyline around his deadly bodily fluids. While Spider-Man's body gained the ability to perform many unique functions after being bitten by the radioactive spider, it even caused him some inconvenience. During the Spider-Man Reigns story arc in 2006 to 2007, Spider-Man finds himself in a dystopian world set 30 years in the future, wherein he grieves the loss of everyone he has lost and even goes into a dark state of mind. We learn that the amount of responsibility placed on him due to his powers has driven him to insanity. He now refrains from being present in society and keeps to himself. As the comic series moves further, it is revealed that this happened in the aftermath of Mary Jane's death, which came as quite shocking news to Spider-Man. He even blamed himself for it and could not escape the guilt and sadness of losing the girl of his dreams. It happened that Mary Jane and Spider-Man finally settled down and even consummated their relationship. However, Spider-Man's bodily fluids were also corrupted due to the spider's radioactive bite. After being intimate with Mary Jane, these radioactive bodily fluids spread cancer across Mary Jane's body and targeted her on a cellular level. She soon passed away, and Spider-Man was left to grieve her loss and even deal with the fact that he had killed Mary Jane.
You heard the one about great power coming with great responsibility?
The controversy around Spider-Man having children. On the one hand, the audience believes that Marvel is against the idea of Spider-Man having children and that they continue to create narratives that make it impossible for him to ever become a father. Peter Parker also often struggles to maintain his personal life while fulfilling his superhero responsibility. While that makes him quite an impressive character, it also does not make a good case for him as a present father. Additionally, a recent 2002 comic run reveals that Peter Parker has committed quite an awful act, that Mary Jane has moved on and even become a mother to her own kids. She also does not seem to miss Peter while he is devastated after losing her. Mary Jane focuses on raising her kids well and making them her top priority, while Spider-Man is portrayed as someone who would never be able to give such undivided attention to anything except his superhero duty. In the Spider-Man Reigns story arc, Peter did end up with Mary Jane, but as soon as she died after being exposed to his bodily fluids, which once again establishes that he may not be able to have children. Since Spider-Man has been exposed to radioactive energy, mystical energy, cosmic rays, and all sorts of strange power sources, it is also quite likely that he is sterile. On the other hand, Marvel has shown Spider-Man's kids only in alternate timelines and steered clear of this image in the mainstream universe as they don't want him to lose his appeal. In one of these alternate universes, Peter Parker had a daughter named Mayday Parker with Mary Jane in the MC2 universe. Mayday's character was then given her own series, which gave the audience a fresh perspective on Spider-Man's story from the point of view of a woman. Mayday also went on to become Spider-Girl, and she lived a similar storyline as her father, wherein she lived a double life and juggled school and her superhero responsibilities. During Spider-Man Renew Your Vows alternate reality, Peter and Mary Jane formed a new superhero team with their daughter, Annie Parker. Anna proved to be quite efficient in dealing with crime, and her spider senses eventually enhanced to a point where she got visions from the future. In another dystopian Marvel universe, Peter's daughter with Mary Jane was named May Parker. She later bonded with the Venom symbiote and went on to become Venom instead of inheriting her father's genetics and becoming Spider-Girl. In the Spider-Man life story alternate universe, Peter and Mary Jane had 2 kids, and one of them was named Claire. Claire was quite an extraordinary kid, and she later even went on to become Spider-Woman. While he has a few children in alternate universes, there still lies a lot of controversy and discussion surrounding Spider-Man and his children, and they have never been a part of mainstream continuity. Spider-Man temporarily gains special powers. While Spider-Man's powers can be explained by science, some of his peculiar abilities are even mystical in nature. There's quite a clear-cut explanation behind his powers, but a story titled The Other explored another source for his powers that had never been put forth in his origin story. According to this story, Spider-Man's body evolved further to gain some surprising new powers, and one such power was the ability to produce his webs instead of using artificial shooters. He even gained night vision, and his strength, speed, and agility had enhanced even further. According to this story, Spider-Man even gained 2 stingers in his forearms that helped him to attack his opponents. While these additional powers were quite a blessing, Spider-Man realized they pulled him toward an even more intricate destiny involving the entire multiverse.
Guys are good, you're safe, get out of here.
You think your fancy new suit's gonna save you?
He isn't invulnerable or immortal. While Spider-Man is quite adept at dodging attacks and surviving any fight, his powers do not make him invulnerable or immortal. In fact, he has been killed by various opponents in many comic and movie storylines. In the 4th issue of What If 1989, an alternate version of Spider-Man on Earth 1089 bonded with a Venom symbiote in order to become Spider-Man, but this symbiote bonded with his body and slowly killed him. One such fatal incident involving Spider-Man was also depicted in the Amazing Spider-Man comics, wherein Madam Web views an alternate future and learns that Peter Parker eventually goes over to the dark side and even leaves the Avengers. In this storyline, Peter becomes a fugitive and is eventually killed by the NYPD. In a later issue of the Amazing Spider-Man comics, a dying Otto Octavius swaps bodies with Peter Parker and leaves him to die. Peter goes after Otto, and the two even have a brutal fight, but this eventually results in Peter's death, and it goes down as one of the most iconic farewell scenes in Marvel Comics history. When Peter Parker dies, he makes Otto promise that he will continue to live on as Spider-Man now that he has assumed his role, and this even resulted in the creation of the superior Spider-Man. Peter Parker even died in the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse animated movie, wherein he dies at the hands of the supervillain known as Kingpin. This movie also introduced us to Miles Morales, who witnessed Peter Parker's death from a distance. Of course, Peter Parker was also one of the countless beings who were eliminated due to Thanos' snap in Infinity War, but he returned after the universe was restored. In the Infinity Gauntlet comic series, Spider-Man was killed by one of Thanos' creations, Terexia, who beats Spider-Man to a pulp with the help of a rock.
What's happening to me? I've been poisoned by that spider. I'm turning into a spider myself.
Some of his lesser-known superpowers. Some of Spider-Man's powers and abilities are quite unusual, and they don't give him any added advantages. One of these powers includes his ability to mutate into a giant spider on some occasions, which does not bring him any new powers, except for the ability to create his one organic web shooter. However, turning into a spider does help him to fix any injuries, and he even once fixed his teeth and even regrew a few broken bones. In the animated Spider-Man series, Spider-Man once even transformed into a man-spider. He also has the ability to communicate with spiders, and he can mentally talk to them to gain information or even just have a chat. During an animated series story arc, Spider-Man used this superpower to detect an army of hybrid spider followers and then communicate with them to subdue the situation. Spider-Man also keeps enhancing himself and his powers by upgrading his suits, and he once even enabled an AI assistant to help him figure out his suit's abilities. He can also grow extra limbs, and Stan Lee once came up with a comic series wherein Spider-Man had 6 arms. Spider-Man eventually got tired of these extra limbs as they only drew more attention to him, and he eventually figured out an antidote to get rid of them. He also has a speedy metabolism, which is not a superpower, but is useful in some cases. For instance, his fast metabolism allows him to recover swiftly from any form of poisoning, as his body can produce these poisons at a high speed rate without it affecting his body too much.
Tell us, why are you here?
None of your business. Who are you guys anyway?
Name's Road Sugar. You seem
Conclusion. To sum it up, Peter Parker, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, has one of the most unique physiologies in the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man's body does keep getting weirder over time. He has undergone many bodily enhancements over time, and his superpowers have played a huge role in defining him throughout his lengthy career. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
Even us characters of fiction.
Spider-Man, it's time to go.